Welcome to Sacred Rebels podcast, where we discuss life after trauma as we question societal norms and shatter stigmas. Are you a woman who longs for a sense of community and understanding? Well, stick around. There is a seat for you here. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
And we're just two best friend millennial moms and entrepreneurs navigating life and motherhood while on a spiritual healing journey.
We don't do surface level, and we're definitely not your typical moms, so let's dig deep. We plan to cover it all and take you behind the scenes as we share our personal experiences, learn more about the holistic side of healing, and introduce all the incredible humans we've met along the way.
Join us as we share the good, the bad, and the ugly side of healing. We hope to help you step into your power. Thanks so much for listening. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Rebels. Tonight we have Iris here, and Amy will introduce her after we do our big deep breath.
All right, one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Take a big inhale through the nose, lift up, rise up, fill up. And then exhale through the mouth, let it go. So tonight we have Iris Moon on. She is an integrative energy healer, and she is actually somebody that has been connected into the studio with me for the last couple months, and she's going to be holding workshops here with me. We're pretty much on the same path of what we're providing and doing all that thing. So I'm very excited to have her on, talking about all the things.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited. So she pulled our card as well.
I did, and it's my favorite number, 44.
Oh.
Visions of life beyond death. Probably too small for the camera.
Yeah, here, I can zoom it in later.
Cool. Sacred vision is awakening within you. You are becoming blessed with the ability to truly see, to see what is real rather than what appears to be. This is true insight. What was once considered consequential may soon be found to hold little consequence after all. What was once dismissed as irritation or irrelevance may be seen to have some great spiritual significance. As mundane as something once appeared, it could now be worthy of absolute attention. The gift of genuine vision takes you into the being of the universal creator. This is sacred terrain beyond logic, convention, and that which is limited in any way. The more open you are to receiving true vision, the more love you will feel and recognize within and around you. Something may appear to change form, to be shed, to be lost, or to die, but there is love within it always. This realization doesn't remove the pain of loss. It does provide a way through which it can be healed and eventually transformed into peace.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Wow.
I love that.
Transformed into peace.
With love.
Yeah.
I love that so much. So what did you take from that? Like, how does that relate to your life today, do you think?
Yeah, I think one word I've been chewing on a lot the past day or so has been curiosity, and how much that has been, I think, really core to all of the twists and turns in my spiritual journey. And I just think about it with that that description and that card, because things change, you
Yep.
have to be ready for that.
Yep.
Just when you think you know what you're doing, who you are. And that can be really hard, but it also, when you can surrender and accept it, it can be beautiful. I mean, that's growth, that's transformation.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, it's
curiosity. That is like a really interesting word. And you can really like dive deep into that, because I feel like a lot of people have so much curiosity about a different way, because we've been programmed to believe that things are so fact and like rigid and one way, and you have to show up one way, and that if you like get a spark of curiosity of something that's not in the norm, it takes you on a wild ride.
Yep. So true. Yeah.
It really does.
I mean, I think that's like with anything, right? Like, and I think it's so funny when they say like curiosity killed the cat, because I don't think that at all. I think curiosity expands your mind and your journey. I don't think curiosity kills the cat. I think
Pulls you out of your comfort zone.
Yes, it does.
It's like a fear. That sounds like actually like a fear programming.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it can be so helpful with yourself too, because, you know, a lot of challenges can come from when you've, you know, made up a story about yourself, that I am this way and, you know, this is not good. I can never do this. I'm never that. And just, you know, it can be really hard to make that transition to like, yes, no, actually I am great. Actually, all those things are wrong. It doesn't really, it's hard to access that. But when you just have curiosity about, you know, why do I think this? Or what would it look like if I like tried on something else for even just, you know, a moment here? I think it can really open up and kind of get you out of that like stuck, locked in place. It has for me anyways.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So what was that? What was your stuck, locked in place? We don't do surface level here, Iris.
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, I mean, it's been, I think, continuous. What comes to mind the most for me has been, you know, I started off on this path as a life coach, and before that, I did a yoga teacher training. But I just had so much mental activity, and I just wanted to be diving into, you know, more inner work, and I didn't see that in the yoga training I did. And so I got very attached to this path of like being a life coach, and that it needed to look like this, look the way that I saw, you know, out in the world, out on the internet, that this is what success looks like. And it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And it was very hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of advice out there that like, if you just, you know, stick with it, keep going, that's what you need to do. But really sometimes you don't need to do that. You need to kind of let go and be open to trying something else.
Reassess the situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that happened for me, you know, again with hypnosis, which I still work with, but I said like, no, I'm not a life coach. Like, screw that. Hypnosis, that's everything, you know, and I feel like throughout, you know, this path, at least earlier on, I think I'm getting better at it, sort of getting attached to like, oh, this is who I am. This is how I want to work with people. And, you know, this is what it needs to look like forever. And like, now I get to settle in like knowing and just being done. Like, and that's just not real.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no permanent situation.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's like the growth, and I talk about it all the time. Like, same. I started out as a yoga teacher, and then I was a booty teacher, and I did all the booty yoga things, and that's still it. And I still love that practice, and I still practice yoga, and I still practice booty. And then I got handed, you know, it was the sound bowls, like channeled the sound bowls in, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And now I'm doing breathwork, and I do everything, you know, like I have movement, breath, sound, it's all of it. And when you can integrate it to what your sole purpose is, it's all of it. Like, I'm sure you still have a yoga part to your spiritual coaching, and you still, like in your hypnosis, have, you know, movement and breath and all the things, and we just figure out what collectively works, and it's all of it.
And I'm sure it's just like intuitive, right? Like, depending on who you work with, like what do they need, what do they not need, what practices do you bring in for that, and what do you not?
Yeah, exactly. And curiosity is really what drives learning, and you know, that's what this is all about, learning. You know,
seekers. We're just seekers over here. Always seeking.
Yeah. I think one area I got stuck a lot too, that I've been finding more peace with, is you know, I've had this corporate career going for like 12 years. And so I was, you know, at war with it. Like, I just need to be able to like leave my job. And like, that's kind of the, you know, the shiny story is like, I got to like, you know, quit my corporate job, and now I'm a, you know, spiritual healer. And I felt like a failure because I, you know, kind of years would go by, and I was still kind of working in that space. But I'm glad that I opened up, and I feel like what I have now received from that, working in leadership development consulting, it's like, is this whole other element that I get to bring to my spiritual practice. So I know that's something for a lot of people who, are wanting to get into more healing work and be kind of a healing practitioner themselves, that they might feel at odds there. But I think just like being curious about what does this have to teach me?
Yeah.
And I've learned so much, especially through the relationships of, bosses and managers and clients there. So
yeah, I bet.
And Iris is the one that I met that plans like workshops and is going to help us do our Sacred
Yeah,
Moon, Sacred Rebels.
So it was you and Amna that night, and we were like, "Do you want to be on the podcast?" And you're like, "Not tonight, but I'll come back in a couple weeks." And we're like, "Perfect," and now here you are, and we're so excited. So that's amazing. So with that being said, so you said you offer hypnosis. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us a little bit about that process? We haven't had anyone on here yet that does hypnosis and all of that.
Yeah. So I'll talk about hypnosis. It's one of a couple tools I use the most. Breathwork, Reiki, and sound are also really core to my practice. But yeah, hypnosis is something I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. It has this reputation of being like some weird guy making you cluck like a chicken on a stage in Las Vegas or something like that.
Yeah.
And I went to an amazing school in New York City when I was living there called the Divine Feminine School of Hypnosis. And
sick.
Yeah, yeah, she's amazing.
Dope.
Yeah, Shauna Cumins is the leader of that. And I love what we learned there, and it's really about reclaiming hypnosis as this holistic spiritual healing tool. And since I've learned about it, every healing modality I see now, I'm like, oh, that's kind of like hypnosis. And really what it is going into a trance state, so slowing down your brain waves, so getting out of that kind of like active, conscious decision-making focus that we're frequently in all the time, and getting into that relaxed alpha theta brainwave state, which when you're in a sound bath, when you're in Shavasana at a yoga class, that's like why it feels so good, because you're in that state. And using the power of language, using imagination to really help kind of create stronger neural pathways around all the good things you have going for you, and taking that into all of the problem areas in your mind. So kind of working with the subconscious and neural pathways.
Reprogramming.
Exactly. Yeah.
We learned that last night in the first week of the Breathwork certification that I'm in, and it's like I didn't even know this, there's only 3 different type of healing modalities where you can access like that theta brainwave and kind of reprogram the subconscious, and it's hypnosis, breathwork, and plant medicines, so like ayahuasca and mushrooms and things like that. So I think hypnosis and breathwork together is just as powerful, right? And I mean, throw in some plant medicines too would be great. But
well, I'll say this, I did a private session with April, one of our first guests, and April does plant medicine all the time, and she had an experience with plant medicine the weekend, and then we had just connected on Monday, and I did a private breathwork session with her in her home, and she hadn't done transformational breathwork, hypno breathwork, all the things we can call it, all these different things. So I was just like, let's do one. I just like threw a blanket on the floor and like threw it on the floor. And it was a really cool awakening experience because take off, baby.
I know, I love it. Like I just saw it on the corner of my eye.
I'm just like, wait a minute, because this is really powerful. Psychedelic medicine, mushrooms, plant medicine really teaches you the connection with everything else, that we are all one in source in God, right? It's the God molecule. Like, these are plants given to us from God and creation. But what happens in breathwork is you realize your own power. Mm-hmm. Like, you realize that you have everything inside of you already, and you actually don't need the medicine. The medicines are amazing, and the level of clarity and things and experiences that you get with the medicines are there. There isn't one or the other, right? It's the connection of two to really realize both of those really empowering things, that we are connected to everyone, but also that is inside of us in just our breath, life force energy. We say it all the time, and in Sanskrit, breath means spirit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we connect mind, body, spirit.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I think it's like, I truly think breathwork is the future. Like, I think it's like I just like so clearly see it in my vision. Like it's going to blow the fuck up, and we're going to bring it to schools, and we're going to teach children how to like, you know, go back to their breath. And I just truly believe it's the future. Like I can't even explain it. I think just the last few months, just like experiencing it over and over, it's just been like life changing. So
bringing it into the jails last week was unreal.
yeah.
Yeah, I think about how much information there is out there about like what to eat and when you should eat and how you should eat. But like, what's the other main way we get energy for our bodies that we need to live, right?
Yep.
And how, you know, prior to probably the past like couple years, how much information has there been in education about how to properly breathe and how to use it in you know, healing ways, which I think we're still kind of evolving there with food as well. But yeah, and like, it's free. It's all around us.
Totally free.
It's insane.
And it is our medicine. And it's just simple. It doesn't also have to be these crazy experiences, these long classes, which are so beautiful. But if you just 3 times a day, like after you eat your meals, take 5 minutes to just take like big, deep, expansive breaths, inhales, exhales, your life will drastically change.
Yep.
If you focus on the breath. That's 15 minutes out of your day, 5 minutes, 3 times a day to just start to reprogram and realize how much the breath can affect your life. It's like anxiety and panic attacks. Everyone wants to be like, oh, I have anxiety. It's like, no, you're actually just really breathing out of your chest, and you're actually not realizing how to.
And you're putting yourself in fight or flight.
Bring your your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Like that's also all controlled with your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, bringing it back to yoga too, I mean, they knew about this 5,000 years ago and we forgot.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny how popular the asana practice has become, you know, the past few decades. And yeah, I think now
explain what asana is to our listeners in case.
Yeah, sure. So when people say yoga, they typically think about going to a yoga class, downward dog, doing the physical postures, and that refers to asana. But really, there are 8 limbs of yoga. So I definitely recommend checking that out. It's kind of the core philosophy that yoga comes from. And the first 2 are the yamas and the niyamas, and they're all about like moral observances and like how to live, how to behave in the world so that you don't cause drama for yourself, so you actually can meditate, so you actually can have the breath work. So I think super important to know about. And then it's asana, which is, you know, taking care of your body, doing those physical practices. And then it's pranayama, and that is the 4th step on the way to
breath.
And the last one is samadhi, which is this like awakening of that you are divine consciousness. It's like the purpose of why you meditate is to get there from the yoga perspective.
That's interesting.
And a lot of people, because I go to a lot of yoga classes and hot yoga classes and things, and the breath is lost. You know, yoga is supposed to be one breath, one movement. And when you're doing all these crazy things and you're, you know, going upside down, and people really lose the breath. Yeah. And that's actually...
It takes the breath out of me every time we practice.
It's actually the point of the physical practice. The point of the physical practice is like, yoga was actually created for 10-year-old boys, like way back in the day, and for India, because they needed something to slow them down to meditate. And now you do an hour yoga class and a 2-minute shavasana, when the point of a yoga class is actually the shavasana. Like actually the meditation where you can actually like slow down mind, body, spirit and have that connection. And people are like, yeah, I do yoga.
Yeah,
I was thinking of this correlation between these two big moments in my life. I mean, one wasn't that big necessarily, but when I was kind of a rowdy teenager and smoking cigarettes, of course.
Of course.
And one day my friend looked at me and he was like, "You're not inhaling." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not." And then I like took a big inhale, and then I got the rush of nicotine.
The nicotine.
And then I was hooked on them. And it's funny because I was thinking about that with yoga, and it's like, yeah, you can just kind of show up to the yoga class, but until you learn how to really
use your breath
and take it in, then that's when you have that kind of awakening moment without the nicotine.
Do you know what's funny is that's how I quit smoking cigarettes. And I say it all the time in treatment centers because I found out I was pregnant and I was still a cigarette smoker. I was like smoking vapes. That was the one thing I said I was not going to give up. Like, I really thought I was going to be a cigarette smoker until the day I died. I was like, I'm holding on. It's like my vice. It's my one thing. And I got pregnant and with Xavier, and I had started like my yoga journey, and I just went outside and I put my hands on my knees and I would just take huge, deep breaths. And I had no idea about breath work or anything. But anytime I wanted a cigarette, I just went outside and I just took, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're going outside to smoke a cigarette because you're inhaling. You're inhaling a bunch of chemicals, but I guarantee you that if you just start inhaling your breath and get your medicine,
you'll get higher than the nicotine eye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I quit. I haven't smoked a cigarette since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that makes me think of, I don't know why cigarettes are now like a core like tenant here, but also makes me think about, you know, one of the other benefits of smoking and drinking and whatever else you do is the social aspect. And, you know, I think with breath work too, or with yoga, I think that's an important thing to embed into the practices, that you know, you're getting these people, like-minded people together in a room, and how can they connect with each other and have a, you know, unified experience with each other.
Community.
It's
like you've been to some of my sound baths, and when we're like waiting for everybody to come in, and you know, we always leave the door open for like 5-10 minutes grace period for people that run late, but I always walk in and everyone's talking and nobody really knows each other, but the whole room is just filled with talking and community that I never want to stop it. I'm like, wait, can I just... Go
ahead, keep mingling.
Just keep hanging out. I'll run the sound bath a little longer. But yeah, that's it. And where else do you get that? A bar? Like, besides a bar, where else can you go? A gym? People go to the gym, they don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah,
they want
you
to
don't
go
talk at the gym.
Yeah, like, so where else?
Yeah, it's true.
It's community. That's what we're craving. We're craving community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
Yet another cigarette reference.
Yes.
There is, the Surgeon General came out with this report recently about the loneliness epidemic, and highly recommend reading it. It is just all about how much our experience of loneliness, our social connection, our actual time with people has declined so much. And they measured that the impacts of being consistently lonely is as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
So, you know, yet another reason that like all of these things are so important, learning how to breathe, you know, understanding how to make good choices in your life, but also, you know, I think that with holistic healing and spiritual healing, just it has to happen in community.
I know. I learned another thing today too, or last night. It's like, so I didn't know that breathwork is like the #1 trending healing modality in like a $4 billion health industry in the past 4 years now. And because of that, it's because, like we said before, we have the opportunity to access those theta brainwaves and go into the subconscious and kind of reprogram what we've learned, because from literally newborn to 7 years old, we are living in theta brainwaves. So we are literally basically living in a state of hypnosis for the first 7 years of our life. So whether we think we have trauma or not, we fucking do, just from the people and things that we witness around us. And I learned that we have trauma from 14 generations up. 14 living in our cells.
Our DNA, yeah. Emma talked about that. I think it's 7
generations up.
Seven.
Is it on our Zoom last night? Brian said it was 14 generations.
Yeah, in our DNA codes.
Whole lot of generations either way.
Yeah, 7 or 14, it doesn't really matter. And that's
quite a few.
When we talk about
that's
why
wild.
You have these fears of heights or spiders or the woods or things, and you're like, I don't even know why I'm afraid of heights. Like, I've never had a situation that's made me afraid of heights.
Insane.
It's because it's generational. And like our ancestors were living in the woods, they were afraid of the dark, and there was actually animals that were going to come out and kill them. So you're like, that's generational trauma.
That's so wild to me. I still can't get over that.
Yeah, I think that's why some of this work is so helpful too. breathwork and hypnosis, and I don't know, we need to just like merge them.
I know, breathwork.
Hypnosis is like the like framework behind how you guide people through breathwork, you know, and the words you choose to use, and you don't have to do breathwork, you can do it on its own. But you know, people don't need to fully understand what the problem is. Sometimes just trying to understand, why do I feel this way? Where's this fear coming from? You know, that just makes you identify more with the problem state, just makes it more real. So when you're kind of going into the subconscious, you're able to really change the way your brainwaves are working, the way your mind is working, so you can see the problem differently. And then all of a sudden it doesn't need to be a problem anymore. And
you're not attached to it anymore. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why it's so, you know, I did talk therapy, I did EMDR, like I did all these things, and I swear by them all, and I'm so glad, right? You have to go through the levels of the things, but I think that's my favorite part about breathwork and hypnosis and somatic healing, all of it, is because you actually don't have to talk about it. You, like, whatever is the limiting belief, whatever is the programming that's holding you back the most, your subconscious brings it out when you're in the theta brain waves, and you have a realization about it and you reprogram it in the breathwork session. And then when you're in the alpha brain waves state, you have a different reaction already because you fixed it in the theta brainwave state. Like, that's the most beautiful part about it, because you don't have to sit there and like relive the bullshit.
Making me think of the card we pulled.
Yeah. What made you think about that from the card? What is the...
Just the card, I think, was really about that shift in perspective. And, you know, that those moments on our spiritual path that all of a sudden things just flip and just turn upside down, and you're like, oh, now I see it clearly.
Yeah. Seriously, I think sometimes things have to happen in order for us to kind of... Yeah, I guess that kind of ties into curiosity, right? Like, for me, like, some things, like, I in the moment, I could be like, why the fuck is this happening to me? But then from the outside, like, you know, looking back after I go through it, it's like, okay, it clearly was happening for a lesson, obviously, but also just, like, to kind of make me look at things differently and maybe have that curiosity come in of, like, okay, what can I do next? Or what do I need to change? Or what am I supposed to be doing? Or maybe this doesn't align with me anymore, which is, like, kind of how I've been feeling this last year, and what made me want to be like, okay, no, like, I'm no longer, like, I'm not going to work in the beauty industry anymore. Like, it doesn't align with me anymore. Like, this is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I need to be doing, even though, like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing right now, you know? And I just, like, everything I know is makeup. So I'm like, what's happening? Like, I'm literally just, like, done. But it was that curiosity and the passion and, like, the knowing that, like, no, like, this is, even though it's scary and I literally don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I'm like, no, this is it. Like, I'm going to figure it out. And that's just kind of like where the curiosity came. It was like seeking and seeking and seeking and like, okay, something's different. Like, I need to do something different.
Also, both can be true.
Yeah.
You can be a makeup artist and also...
But I just, like, don't love it the way that I used to. Like, it's a creative outlet for me. Like, I love doing my Halloween makeup looks and all my fun, like, you know, looks. But weddings are just, they're so stressful. There's, like, 9 people that I have to do back to back. And it's, like,
yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah, and, you know, the curiosity of, like, you know, how can you make it work for you with the way it is right now?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think what's been helpful for me is to think about, you know, what I want, what's the state that I want, and then, like, how can I get, like, 5% of that right now? And how can I make this, like, you know, just a baby step
Tweak
better?
it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, because you're an all or nothing.
You know? I literally
need to do it right now.
Burn it down.
As soon as I signed up for breathwork, Dale's like, all right, well, what are we going to do about the weddings? I'm like, I'm going to finish all my weddings for the year and then I'm done. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yep, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, different strokes.
Yeah, exactly. No,
more power to you.
I'll definitely still do makeup 100% because I love it, but not weddings. I think that's where I've been at. It's just like weddings don't bring joy to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's so stressful. I panic the day of. I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, it's their wedding day. I'm like, I don't want to fuck your face up on your wedding day, you know? Like, it's a lot of pressure. And so, I mean, I do that to myself because I know I'm good at what I do, and I've never had any, like, you know, any problems this far, knock on wood, wherever you are. But it's still like a lot of pressure, and I hold myself to this like unrealistic expectation of like things have to go perfect and everything has to be good, and like, you know, I get the one ride who has like a watery eye and her lashes won't stick, and I'm like, oh my god, here we go, you know, and I'm panicking because I'm running out of time, and it's not fun. So that's what I just decided this last, I mean, obviously through the podcast and this and the women's circle, it's just been more clear than ever that this is the path that like I'm meant to be on. 110%. And then obviously after experiencing breathwork for the first time, I was just like, what is happening? Like, what was that? Because again, years of talk therapy and EMDR and just like not ever feeling like an instant relief like that. I was just like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is it.
Yeah, I think what it's been like for me is there's like those moments of clarity and then long periods of like, okay, but how? Are you sure?
Yeah, questioning yourself.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I had a moment of that earlier this year too, because, you know, I've talked about some of the things I do, the tools I work with, but like there's even more, and there's even more things I'm interested in. And I got to a point that I was like, okay, like astrology, human design, psychic readings, mediumship, Akashic records, like this is too much for, you know, for one person to be offering. And like, how does it all make sense? So like having the questioning, like, or is it, or like, how could all these things fit together? And, you know, I just had this moment of clarity earlier this year. I was working with the goddess Kali, who is a very cool goddess who...
she's the fucking best.
Yeah.
I channel her all the time. For those of you that don't know, she's the one that holds up heads and, like, cuts them off. She's, like, the blue... Yeah. Kali.
Yeah.
She's my bitch.
Yeah. Me too. She helped me out. And yeah, like what she can help with is clearing out all the things that are not your highest spiritual path. And you have to be ready for that. And I was like, I got nothing to lose. I don't care.
Oh my God, I'm interested in that. That sounds incredible.
I have a deck. Alana Fairchild has a Kali deck. I have it at my house.
Oh, was it the Egyptian one we did?
No, that's the Isis deck.
Oh, the Isis deck. That's what it was.
Yeah, she's a Hindu goddess.
Yeah,
I was using a mantra with that, which is another great, you know, sound and breathing technique, which I'm trying to dive more into. But like, check back in 2 years when I've learned an appropriate amount to share. But I've been using that personally, and yeah, I mean, again, with the curiosity, it's just like, find stuff that interests you.
Yeah, like that's just it.
Yeah.
I'm multi-passionate. I say it all the time. I'm like multi-passionate because I'm just such a seeker and I'm just so interested in so many different things. It's like, to me, I don't think there is a limit. I truly don't. Like, I don't think that we have to just like limit ourselves to this one practice and like this is all, like, I don't believe that. Like, I believe if you love astrology and you love Akashic records and all of these things, like, do it. Like, fucking do it. Like,
it's a lot of knowledge.
It is a lot of knowledge. It could take years, but like at the same time, you don't have to say never. You know, never say never.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there who would say, like, no, you need to, like, go really deep on one thing. And the truth is that you don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I've learned, and, you know, when I want to know about something, it's like the same thing we talked about when it comes to you, it's for you. It's like I just get down, when I trust that it's on my purpose and like on my passion, and I really just like sit and invite it in, I just know the universe provides us with like, I don't fucking know anything about alpha and theta brainwaves. Like, I don't like this, like, you know what I mean? I do know because I take these trainings, but it's like I read it once, hear it once, and it's just in my inner knowing.
Yeah.
And when it comes
like
up in conversations, I'm open to understanding that the universe is willing to provide me with all the information that I need for the certain thing that I need. But if it's astrology, I haven't really like dived too much into astrology and all that stuff because there is like a lot of remembering things that you have to do with that kind of work. But like knowledge, I do believe that if you're called to it, that you can just access it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, I think finding your kind of authentic path and what is true for you means sometimes getting on 10 paths that are not for you and taking a few steps back.
And then figuring that out while you're in it. Like, okay, I thought this was it, but it's not. You know?
Yeah.
I think that is so true. I think that can be true for a lot of people. And I just think that a lot of people scare themselves out of trying new things because they're like either the self-doubt or the self-limiting belief of like, I can't trust my judgment. This isn't right for me. Or like this, like, you know, programming of like, this isn't what success looks like, you know, all of it. Right. So I just think it's good to remember that if it comes to you, it's for you.
Or just people are comfortable.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah,
I'm comfortable in my routine and I get this certain paycheck and I'm miserable. And like I cook dinner and I go to the grocery store on the same day and I cook the same meals every day and I have these routines and everything seems to be like working out just fucking fine. But no, you're miserable and you're not experiencing joy every day because you're going to work to do a job that you don't actually enjoy, to get a paycheck just to pay your bills, to maybe take one vacation a year. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like that's not it anymore. Like that was our parents' programming, right? Like that was like
the
what
Matrix. People are escaping the Matrix every
escape
day.
the Matrix, because it's like there's limitless like potential to do things that you're passionate about, and when you're doing things that you're passionate about, people want to know those things and they want to do these things that are creating curiosity.
Yeah, and I think, you know, from my perspective, one of the best outcomes of doing any of this work is that when you're, you know, whatever, when it's worked, that then you're going through that routine, you're with your family, you're doing the groceries, and it's a spiritual experience for you because everything is a spiritual experience.
Yeah, because you can take the time, you can choose if this is where your curiosity is, to do a yoga teacher training, to dive deeper into spirituality, to take a breathwork course at home in the comfort of your own home. Maybe it takes you out of your routine because you have to spend a few extra hours watching something, but I guarantee you it's like, Tay, you watching that video last night, she called me, she's like, I'm so alive. You know what I mean? Just you feel so good.
Yeah.
I feel so good. I sat on this thing with this group of people of like-minded things, doing like-minded things. And maybe it doesn't mean that in the first year you're going to quit your corporate job and, you know, how you're still in your corporate job, but now you're doing this other thing that fills your soul. So now your corporate job feels fulfilling.
Yeah. And you know, while corporations continue to exist, we will all benefit from there being some people doing, you know, their own spiritual work.
Exactly.
Running them.
Exactly.
Running them and being an employee, you show up different.
Yeah.
You know, you show up different at your job because you're like, wow, I'm happy to be here. Even though it's maybe not what my job is going to do, but I have a different outlook on why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think one of the most helpful things for me, still working in the corporate realms and being in the spiritual realms as well, is just getting used to communicating with people who don't have that background and who are very skeptical and who, you know, why I use the name Iris Moon for my spiritual work, who might have judgments, but, you know, how can I share all of the good things that I've learned and tried to be, you know, a positive influence for these people, for these spaces.
Yeah, integrate it into your workplace. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it helps me then when I'm working with clients or leading a workshop with more of a spiritual focus, that I can't make assumptions about where people are on, you know, and I don't want to put something on them that isn't going to feel right for them because, you know, I want to leave it open. And I think those are things I've learned through hypnosis as well, is and just through all this work, is how to kind of give people space to have their own process and their own journey and really think for themselves and have their own belief systems.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about bringing any type of breathwork practice into your work? Because I know you do. You host a couple. Don't you do breathwork sessions for a couple like places, doctors, lawyers?
Yeah, I've had a doctor's office came in, like she owns a clinical staff and she brought all her clinical staff in there. And then I've done it I do sound and breathwork in treatment centers and the treatment center staff. I'm actually planning one currently right now. The My Turn staff are all going to come here.
Nice.
To do them. So that's like something me and Iris have actually talked about, like workshops, like doing it for corporate businesses to...
Like, that would be epic, I feel like, you know?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I'm sure I will do that down the road. And I kind of like in sort of trying to navigate these two paths, I think I got to a point that I was like, I need to just let my freak flag fly. Not worry about, not do it for that. Do it for the you know, to 100%. For those clients, but just be myself and share what I care about, and whoever wants to come to that, then, like, welcome, like, wherever you're from. And then, as you grow, you can start to think about, like, adapting for audiences, because, like, you do have to kind of meet people where they are.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah. So.
Oh my God, can we please name the episode that? Please let your freak flag fly.
So good. Let your freak flag fly, bitches.
That is so good.
You never heard that?
No, I mean, I might have, but right now I just like was
hit
like,
different.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. Let it fly and just be your authentic self, and that's who you attract your people, right? Like, it's like, I feel like when you aren't showing up authentically, that's when things don't feel right, and that's when you get these shitty people just like keep walking into your life, because you're like, oh, like, this isn't aligning, this isn't actually what I like, this isn't what I like talking about, this isn't, like, none of this shit that we're talking about interests me. But it's, if you're not living authentically, those are the scenarios that you put yourself in. Mm-hmm. And I think I've, like, really learned that this past year, and I've had to let go of, like, a couple of people that just, like, weren't, like, it's not their fault or my fault, it's like we grew into different people, and, like, we no longer shared the same, like, I don't know how to explain it other than, like, it just, you grow and you evolve, and sometimes people, I don't want to say get left behind, because that's, like, that's not what it is, but you just, you're going on different paths at that point.
You realize you don't want to be a people pleaser anymore.
Yeah, like, no longer a people pleaser. That's what it is.
Good.
Yeah, or just, like, the people that everybody wants to be a victim, right? Everybody wants to, like, play this weird thing that, like, you cause them stress or you cause them anxiety. It's like, no, take some personal responsibility. Like, you lack boundaries, so you create anxiety and panic in yourself because you're a people pleaser and you lack boundaries.
Yeah, and at the end of the day with that, it's like, if this isn't feeling good for us and we can't work to a resolution, then we need to
what are we doing?
Part ways. Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
I think that's where people get caught up in the fact of, like, feeling like they owe people something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's part of, like, the attachment, right? Like, we get attached to people, places, and things, and it's like we have to just break attachments, like,
let it go.
Feelings, same thing. We attach to a feeling, and it's like, no, like, this, like, if I'm having a bad day, I have, like, this very special ability to be like, my fucking life is ending, like, it's so bad, and then I'm like, no, like, stop, it's not that bad, and in this moment it's bad, but, like, it's not bad, like, I'm gonna be all right, like, it's gonna be all right. And I think lately I've just been, like, reprogramming myself and my mind to be like, no, don't go there, like, don't spiral, don't spin down that dark path, because I am very good at doing that.
I have this certain somebody that is in my life, and and I used to call them the bane of my existence, because that's, like, truly what I felt, right? And I had this realization last week, and I was like, holy shit, like, they're only that because I let them be that. Like,
powerful.
I gave them that power for so long because I chose to let them be that. Mm-hmm. Which was, like, I'm still like, holy shit. And now I'm like, all right, I love you. You, like, that's it, because you're love and I'm love and we're all just love, and that's it. And now I don't have to choose to, I was choosing to have that reaction to this said person, right? I was choosing to, like, let that programming, like, even though, and the best part about these people, right, when we have, like, those people, it's usually justified. Like, we can usually, like, be with people and, like, say the things that how this person's acting or showing up in life, and, like, those people will be like, yeah, that person fucking sucks. Mm-hmm. They're a piece of fucking shit. Like, look at all they're doing and all blah, 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 blah. And so it's easy when you have those people in your life where you can be justifiably angry, because, like, but it doesn't affect me how they're showing up, and I'm allowing them to be the bane of my existence. Yeah. And no, that actually doesn't exist, because I have the power in me, and breathwork has really, like, really blown this open for me, right? And psychedelics too, but way more just like my own power, like regaining my own power back from that, which is way more in breathwork than the other piece of just being like, wow, I chose that for myself for a really long time, and I'm just going to forgive myself for that, and I'm just going to send nothing but love to those people, because there's usually like a couple people in your life when you're like, I have nothing but love for those people anymore, like that's it. And what that does is gives me so much freedom. So much freedom.
Yeah, that makes me think of, in a way, your relationship with weddings and doing makeup at weddings, of just like, you know, and
having this outcome every time.
Like, you know, there's people relationships, work, you know, relationship with your work, but that, like, kind of, you were describing the like perfectionism and like the high standards, and it's like, how am I like letting this thing, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, you want to do a good job, but like, if you didn't, you know.
I know. Everyone would still be alive and life would still go on. But in my mind, it's like the end of the world. It's so funny. But that reminds me, like, you know, praying for the people that are sick in our lives. It's like when we first met in AA, I remember you telling me one day to like pray for my abuser. And I was like, is this bitch out of her fucking mind? Like, you want me to sit and pray for a man who, like, sexually abused me for years? And you're like, yeah, I do. And I was like, why would I do that? And you're like, because it's like you're holding on to this hate and it's making you sick. And, like, you just need to pray for him, pray for love, and pray for his healing, because it's not doing you any good. And you were so right. And I remember so vividly the day that I decided not to allow him to affect me like that anymore. And it's been different ever since. I literally wrote a letter to him, said my goodbyes and all my things, and like moved on. And it no longer consumes me. And if anything, now, even working through therapy and going through all the things, it's like I've learned that he was very sick. He was a very sick man. And that's like really, again, generational trauma. He was sexually molested as a child, like all the things, right? Like, I know these things about him. So it's like I realized that it was no longer serving me to hold that hate in my heart. And I just remember that day so vividly. You're like, I want you to pray for him. And I'm like, what? You want me to what?
Yeah. And look at me, and I was like giving advice, and here I am, bane of my existence. Like, you know.
No, but it's true. I think it's, and it's just like harder in your own situation, right? Like it was so hard for me to grasp that you wanted me to do that. And at first it felt so uncomfortable doing that. And it was making me physically ill, like sitting on my bedside and actually praying for a man that I like hated at the time. And after the first few days of like praying for him every night before I went to bed, like, you know, just for his peace and his healing and love and all the things, I started to like, my heart started to soften. I can't even explain it. Like I could feel my heart softening. Like it was just like, okay, I'm not going to allow this to like dictate my life anymore and like make me so bitter and angry.
Exactly. And that's what's been happening.
Yeah.
It's like the stupid proverb where it's like, yeah, like our resentment is drinking the poison, expecting the other person to die. It's like so cliche, but it's so
true.
Fucking true. You're like, oh, that's exhausting. Why did I do that for so long? Like, what was I holding on to that for?
Yeah.
It doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, I referenced earlier these kind of like moral foundations of yoga and pranayama, and one of them is ahimsa, which is non-harm. And that it's like so many angles to that, because and I've also heard it translated more as not continuing to perpetuate the cycle of suffering in the world. So like actively, you know, doing work to reduce suffering now, reduce suffering 14 generations from now. And I've thought about it a lot too, because I have, you know, similarly been in situations with people where I hated them, I was mistreated, and, you know, it felt so wrong. And, you know, getting to that point where it's like, what, like I should be nice to them? But, you know, what's the relationship when I'm receiving the harm? Like, what's my role in that? And, you know, I think that's a really important thing to note, is it's, you know, sometimes that's like giving space and like love, thank you, see you later. And yeah.
Take off, give love.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
The plane
true.
is telling you.
I think it's so true. We all just need to revert back to love and giving love and compassion and kindness and all of the things. And I think that's where society went so left. Like, we were just like, everything became so bitter and toxic and victim and like this victim mentality, like all of it. It's like, it's sad. And
people just want to blame everybody.
yeah, it's like, it's everybody else's fault but your own. And that's like where this great awakening is happening. I feel like it's like people are waking up and realizing like, no, like I'm responsible for my own healing. It's me that I'm gonna, like, nobody's gonna fucking fix me. Like, it's me or nobody. Like, so I think that's where this great awakening is happening. And then obviously just like the power of word of mouth and social media and like getting it out to the masses so quickly. Just like you hear one thing and it goes viral the next day, you know?
And like I said, people just really need to realize and take personal accountability. You have anxiety because it's your reaction to a situation. It's not the other person's fault. And as soon as you figure those things out, any kind of emotional reaction that you have to a situation, person, place, thing, job, it's your reaction. It's your programming that you need to have the inner awareness of and do the inner work to figure out why you're having those reactions to people, places, things.
Yeah, and developing that self-awareness and that, you know, those coping skills too, you know, if I'm in an anxious state, how do I not make it everybody else's problem? How do I help myself and, you know, soothe myself, and then I can have some space to evaluate, you know, what was triggering this and how can I communicate about it? How can I, like, do I have boundaries or needs that aren't getting met? But it all starts with being able to recognize your emotional state, because our emotions hijack our brain and we make some wild choices with them.
I say it all the time. And like being in the dating world right now, it's like everybody lacks emotional maturity. Like nobody can healthily communicate about anything. It's like a very rare like occurrence that people have emotional maturity and they're able to like,
it's a rare trait for sure.
Let's like work on that, people.
I tapped out of dating recently. I was like, I need a break.
If it happens, it happens. I feel like like if God forbid nothing will ever happen to me and Dale, but if I was in the dating world nowadays, I swear to God I would not be on any type of sites or anything. Like I would just wait for someone to run into me at a grocery store or something and have like God like intervene, you know, and be like, here's your person. Like
I say that all the time. I would never go on a dating app.
Oh my God. I
don't even really answer the DMs in the Instagram. I mean, sometimes I have, but the majority of the time I'm just like, this is not how it's gonna happen. Same, like it's like the grocery store, or like maybe somebody comes in here,
just that divine connection of like, okay, this person just crossed my path for a reason, just like what happened with me and my husband. Like he was just there and I was just like, just happened.
I'm like, how can I bring more romance into my life without needing
exactly romanticize yourself. Like it's so true. Like make the small moments romantic. Like someone was reading this article the other day. It was like, romanticize yourself. Go out and buy yourself flowers. Go home and read a cute book and light some candles and snuggle up on a blanket and cuddle with yourself. Like just like romanticize your life for yourself, like not for anybody else. And I think that's so true.
And I mean, you know, no surface level here. I honestly say it. Nobody really fucks me better than me.
Yes,
bitch. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. And then I'm like done and I don't have to deal with somebody being
You don't have to deal with the emotional immaturity that comes next.
Or just sometimes I'm just like, can you go now? You know, we don't do surface level here, so
we did not do surface level.
It's the truth. I guess maybe that'll be the day, right? I'll realize that it's the person when they fuck me better than I fuck myself.
That's a good bar. That's a good bar to set. It's a good standard to have. That is a great standard.
It's where it is. It's
so it's like, fuck me better than I fuck myself, and then you gotta have emotional maturity, and we can vibe.
We can get there.
We can vibe. Everything else is figure outable. All right. All that being said, we are very, very grateful for you coming on and taking the time to sit with us and chatting. And we always
take off.
Yeah. A lot of planes tonight.
I know. What's today?
There's like never
Monday?
this many. Monday.
It's a holiday too, Juneteenth.
There's literally never this many flights. But,
Because it's earlier?
no. I don't think so.
Yeah, because we just start the podcast now.
That's yeah. So, yeah, I just thank you for coming on here. I thank you for sharing your experience and all of the things. And I know it's never like easy to come on, right? Like it's probably like, oh, like I don't want to do this, but we really appreciate it. And I know that it'll reach a lot of people. And if there's like one thing that you would want listeners to take away from tonight, what would it be? Like, what would be like the one message?
So we talked a lot about curiosity, so I'm not going to repeat that. But the thing I don't think I said was about compassion. And I think that if you are going to focus on cultivating one thing that's going to support you on your spiritual path, I think it's cultivating compassion for yourself, cultivating compassion for people around you, just really meditating on that. You know, I think we live in a world that there is a lot of harm out there. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of disease and people just being unhealthy. And having compassion, I think, is the first step to be able to even survive in that. And I think it's a really important medicine to use again and again and again.
I agree.
Yeah. So that would be my wish for the world, wish for the listeners, and
Yeah, and we would love for you to tell us a little bit too about the workshops that you will be hosting here at Sacred Moon.
Yeah. So we have 2 workshops that I'm planning on leading, and the first is going to be a breathwork journey. So it is really using the pranayama technique. And creating an experience really to do everything we talked about today, to really go within. So I do use hypnosis just in bringing kind of a guided experience for that. But it's a way to access deeper parts of yourself. It's very nourishing for your body to do the pranayama techniques that I like to lead. There is music that really helps you kind of dive into the experience, and it's going to be all about healing those parts of your past, those parts within you, and really channeling all of that healing and that good energy towards the future. So I like to bring Reiki into my work as well. So lots of Reiki is an energy healing modality. So it feels really good. It just brings a nice,
I love Reiki.
Compassionate level to it. And then I'm also planning on leading a hypnosis and sound bath. So cool. Yeah, so essentially a similar experience, just not using breath work. We will certainly breathe. It's an important tool to kind of take you in deeper. And the one I was planning on leading here is really focused on the divine feminine. So not exclusive to women, all genders are welcome, but to find that part of ourselves, that divine feminine energy, and to really bring it into balance, as well as our divine masculine, and to have it all. So bringing in healing to that part of ourselves and awareness. So thank you so much for having me. And
I love that. I'm definitely going to be attending that. I feel like I'm constantly working on finding my divine feminine, because I have just locked it away and just kept it closed for a long time. And so I'm just like on this little divine feminine journey, and just kind of leveling out instead of just living in my masculinity so much. So that's interesting. I really want to do that.
And if you have a strong masculine connection, then it actually helps you dive into the feminine, because the masculine supports the feminine. So as soon as you're able, that's the role of the divine masculine, is to fully have the feminine feel supported and secure, so she can be what it is. It was funny, I was just talking about this in the treatment center I was at this morning, because somebody said he had a vision of a pink penguin, and he was like, maybe I'm diving into my feminine side. And I'm like, yeah, like everybody has like divine feminine and masculine, and that's, Jessica talked about it. It's like the union of the hands. It's like the union of that in both of our bodies. And but the masculine, that's the masculine's job, is to support. And
the feminine, I didn't know that.
And that's why, like, in a divine partnership, is the man is supposed to really support the woman. It's just been like, it's been so broken out that like support is financial support and providing, right? It's like that part of masculinity has been taken out, that it's just that they just need to provide financially and physically, houses, those kinds of things, and not actually support and see and honor
Who
the
you
feminine.
Are. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we're going to end like we start.
One deep breath, hand on the heart. Heart is the intuition, the gut is the wisdom. Hand on the belly, breathe in through the nose, lift up, rise up, fill up. Exhale slowly through the mouth and just let that shit go. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.